Welcome back to the Daily Rundown with myself, Marc Duffy. I'm still here with the lovely Loz and the lovely Paul, and it's that part of the show where we have something to say. So I open the floor up to my distinguished guests this evening, and they're going to tell us about what's bothering them today. Who wants to start?
All right, okay.
Go on,
yes,
Loz. What's bothering you today?
Well, I'll crack on in then. It's that time of the year when it's local elections, and also I think maybe a time a few of me pet peeves about that. That's all sort of going on through this week. I mean, the sad thing is that quite often is that local politics kind of is just seen as something that's just all a little bit dull and just kind of stories of potholes and kind of a bit left out on a limb, and that's kind of happened again this year, and I think I'm really sort of sad about that. I think it's because of the timing of the European the EU referendum, so that's all about, so it's all been about Boris and Galloway and Farage and everybody's least favourite people in politics, but this is sort of taken away from the fact that sort of the local elections are happening, and it's also kind of really important to say that these are quite crucial about for what's happening in terms of everybody's lives. I know that the big focus for the EU stuff has been that this is the most important vote in your lifetime, but actually day to day, who's dealing with your roads and your bins and the schools and the air quality in your local parks, that actually affects much more about what's going on around you.
Do you think, Loz, people kind of they just think, councils, they kind of run themselves. They're all, they're accountable for this, that and the other, but I'm not bothered about who runs the council, because, my bins are going to get collected every weekday, the street lights are going to be on, that kind of thing. Are people just not that bothered about local elections?
I think people kind of, people notice when it goes wrong, because it's, that's the thing, and it can be a pretty kind of thankless task, and it's just sort of the low level things kind of carrying on, and also increasingly it's kind of difficult because also local politicians get in the neck for things which are not necessarily their fault anymore. So, for example, quite a lot of councils have kind of refuse collection outsourced. So it's also when Biffa, or there are other bin companies available, mess up. It's also about how we have an influence on that stuff. But kind of what I want to sort of flag up for people is also some of my pet peeves about the whole local election stuff, and it's like number one of Loz's pet peeves about.
We need a rundown. We need some rundown music, don't we?
Yeah, it's weird leaflets. It's like the whole thing is like the local election is about how many. It was for a lot of people. It's about how many weird leaflets can you push through people's letterboxes without their hands being snapped off by dogs. And things to watch out for is like folks, for this weekend, for in the years to come, if you get through leaflets that, for example, have lots of things in big, loud, shouty capitals and strange random underlining, no pictures, but also it looks all a bit like it's kind of basically pasted together from YouTube comments, then I'd question about whether to vote for them. Although, to be fair, even the main parties can come up with some really cracking, good, really bizarre leaflets. I think I was looking at a few things just sort of for coming to preparing for this. I think my favourite bizarre headline from a leaflet was one from Hull Labour Party, which it's like a candidate announced on his top headline was, "I am not a horse." Okay. Yes. Well, I'll vote for you then. Yes, or not. No, I'm actually a little bit disappointed. I wanted a horse.
You wanted a horse?
Yes. I don't know. Well, yes. Power to horses or something. Then pet peeve number 2: irrelevant subjects. And there's things like there's lots of things that you can care about in politics, and so, for example, I care hugely about say war and bombing happening in Syria, for example. But if you're getting local election leaflets that are going on about saying, thankfully your local council doesn't kind of have their finger poised on the button, for example. So it's also another thing. It's like, just try and focus in, people. Pet peeve number 3, it's paper candidates. This is kind of a term that sort of politicos use for basically people that fill up the list. What a lot of parties do is that they actually have to sort of to make sure that they look like they're something, is to make sure that they've actually got a full slate of candidates. So every ward in your council area,
they may have like 2 or 3 people standing for election.
Yeah, well, it's that. But basically, there's a lot of people on your ballot papers who will be absolutely horrified if they got elected. It's like they're told, because they're told by their party, whether it's UKIP or Lib Dems or Greens. It's like, we need somebody, just do it, just put your name down. All you need to do is sign on. It's like. And I see, on one hand, there's a good argument for saying you want to give people a chance to vote for your colour rosette. I get that, but I think it's one. But also, I think a lot of the public don't really understand this, and that it's also people care a lot. I mean, people do care about cancers, and so when you've got a good one, it's cracking. But it's also, it sort of does the whole process down a bit if there's people saying actually on the ballot paper, and they don't really care. And I think my final big pet peeve is shonky bar charts. It's shonky bar charts. It's like you get these leaflets and it comes through, and I'm sorry, Lib Dems, it's like you're the big culprits for this. So there's Party X cannot win here, and there's this strange sort of blocks, and it's also, when you look at it, it also goes, there's actually, this is like, it looks like maths, but it's not real maths that's gone into this. And it's another of those things that I think my biggest one is because it goes into this whole thing saying, it's like, so-and-so can't win here. And we know in terms of probability, quite possibly not in terms of everything, but this is an election, folks. It's like each time it comes around, anything can happen. Yeah.
So and it needs to be fairly represented.
Yeah, well, and it's just one of those things that it starts to take away from the. It also, no wonder people say, "Oh, tell you what, I'm just fed up with the whole thing." It's like when you get that kind of message. So
I'll tell you what, Loz. After Thursday, it'll all be over and done with until the next time it comes round.
We'll take a little
hold on for a couple of more days.
Yes.
Paul, what's been on your mind this week, or today even? What's your bugbear?
2 things. Number one, this whole I'm going to mention the whole anti-Semitism argument that's going on with the Labour Party in particular at the moment. And it has to be said, and it needs to be said repeatedly until people get it into their heads, that criticism of the policies of Israel is not now, nor will it ever be, anti-Semitism.
No.
Right? Hating Jewish people because they're Jewish is anti-Semitism. Hating the policies of a regime which oppress other people is not now, nor will it ever be. Just wanted to get that out there because it's really been bothering me.
Okay. So you think the media's kind of like picked up on the wrong word to describe this?
I mean, the MP that's been suspended, Naz. She shared a meme. Which she's been thrown out for, and it was written by Norman Finkelstein,
right,
a Jewish man whose parents both were in a concentration camp. And she shared it, and she got labelled. Now think about that for a second. She shared something written by a Jewish man whose parents were in a concentration camp, and she's been labelled as anti-Semitic for sharing what that Jewish man said. It's the Jewish lobbies. It's the same in the United States, so fiercely against any criticism or discussion of anything to do with Israel whatsoever, and we have to. Israel's a country like any other country. We have to talk about it openly.
Maybe there's a thing saying that, you know, if you are in public office, you shouldn't be sharing, whether it's on a private profile or whatever. If you're
It was before she became an MP, though.
Even so, you know, your past can come back to haunt you. Maybe those things should have been taken away from public view if she took office.
I think we should have the right to question everything at all times.
Yeah.
That's my personal
What's your
opinion.
other thing, Paul?
My other thing is veganism.
Okay.
'Cause nobody is paying attention and it's driving me crazy. We are being warned time and time and time and time again that animal agriculture is destroying the planet, and it is. You cannot breed 70 billion animals per year. Land animals, that is. It's 150 billion if you bring in sea life as well. 70 billion land animals per year bred and slaughtered for human consumption. The Amazonian rainforests are being destroyed at the rate of a football pitch-sized piece of forest being destroyed every few seconds for grazing ground for animal agriculture. They all eat, these animals, these 70 billion, 10 times more than the people on Earth right now, they all eat. If we just stopped feeding the soya and grain that we feed to animals to fatten them up for human consumption, if we took that grain instead and gave it to the humans on the Earth, world starvation would end today.
Would it? Right.
And nobody's paying attention. A piece of ice fell off Antarctica recently, the size of Manhattan.
So you think government should be taking more note and doing something about it?
Yeah, and they keep blaming, like you've got this whole batch of people who constantly blame coal and fuel and say, well, it's fossil fuels, it's the burning of them. But everybody knows that animal agriculture is causing huge, massive destruction, and nobody wants to cut back on the meat they eat. You have to.
Yeah.
Everybody has to. Our supermarkets now are absolutely full of alternative dairy. The alternative milk section in any supermarket is absolutely chock-a-block full. Or rice.
It's a lot there. Prove your point with your pocket.
Just try new things. And if you say, I love animals, stop paying into an industry that tortures and kills them. Then
we'll leave it there. Paul, thanks both for your insights there. Do join us again after this quick break when we'll have some more bizarre stories which have been making the news today. We'll see you soon.